So I have started the recording. So we'll be discussing a slightly new topic today before we go back to cache, because that's what we will be doing in the lab today. So I will share my screen and maybe play the video. So this was a rocket launcher called Ariane. It was launched in 1986. It's from the European Union, not the European Union today's, but yeah, from the Europe thing. It was a decade's worth of efforts, and there were like at least a few $1 billion that were spent on building this rocket. So this was the launch. You just see the launch. Are you able to hear the video's audio? I don't know.
Sir.
Okay, I don't know how to get it there, but yeah, just look at the launch. So this is the. Okay. So now are you able to hear?
And the tropical rain poured down
Yes,
over the rocket.
Yes, sir.
Doubts if it would be able to launch the next day. Its prospects looked poor. By the next morning, the forecast had improved slightly. A final decision to go was taken.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Tous les paramètres propulsifs sont maintenus et la trajectoire est normale.
37 seconds into the launch, the onboard computers decided 501 was 90 degrees off.
Yeah, so so the thing is, this is considered to be a very costly software bug. You saw that the rocket just blew away. The reason the reason is that the onboard computer thought that the rocket is actually going down, and it course corrected it, and it actually made the rocket which was going up to go down, and then there was an issue, and then it just blew away. Luckily, there was nobody in that rocket. The only issue was about a floating point operation. Like, instead of doing something in 64 bits, somebody did it in 16 bit. And they had done, of course, extensive testing, but they never reached that value before in their testing when the thrust was low. But in the real scenario, that whatever the number that they were storing in a variable was not able to hold that. And there was this, you can read about it more. It was because of the floating point representation that they were doing. So that's how important is the topic that we will be discussing today. Of course, not fully. You will come up with your own representation in tomorrow's lab and show me the output. But before that, I also have one more thing, one more small piece of code. We'll write one more small piece of code, and you have to tell me what is the output of this code. Let's see whether you can be able to. I mean, it's an interesting piece of code, so I could not write it now. Yeah, so sorry, I could not get the time before. So I'm just defining a function x. So the function that this is doing is very small. So what I'm doing is, if x is less than or equal to, say, let's say 0.5. Right? So if x is less than or equal to 0.5, I'm just doubling the value of x. So I'm just returning 2 into x. And if x is greater, if x is greater than 0.5, it means that the other condition I could have. So then I'm doing a return. I am doing 2, but I am deducting -1 from here. So this is a very simple function that I have written. I am setting x is equal to 0.1 just to start with. And I am calling this function, say, maybe for 90 times. And then maybe this one. So can you tell me what will be the output for this particular piece of code? So what will be the first output? Yeah, can somebody say something?
0.2.
No, what's the first output that you will get? Not 0.2.
0.1.
Yeah, 0.1, right? So okay, 0.1. What's the next output? Sorry?
0.2.
0.2.
0.2, yes. What's the other next output that you get? So is everybody seeing it? So I said 0.1. So this is the 0.1 that I get. And then it will call f of x. So which means that since 0.1 is less than or equal to 0.5, I'm just returning 2 into x, which means that this will become 0.2. So after 0.1, I become 0.2. Now I'm again sending this 0.2 back. So which means that 0.2 is less than or equal to 0.5. So this will become what?
0.4.
0.4, right? So yeah. And then what will it become? Of course, 0.4 is again less than or equal to 0.5. So I will again become 0.8. Now is what happens that is tricky. So 0.8 is greater than 0.5.
1.5.
So 1.6 minus 1. Right? So it's 0.6. Right? And then again 0.6 is greater than 0.5. So which means that it will become 1.2 minus 1. So this will become what?
0.2.
0.2. Yes. So next, what I will get? I will again get 0.4, 0.8, 0.6. So I will keep repeating these values. Do you agree? Right. So I will get these values. I'll keep getting these values, right? So does everybody agree to this output?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So there should be no, I mean, does anybody have any doubts regarding this output? Okay. So let's run this code and see. But I'm not getting that output, right? I'm getting 1.0. So what happened? So do you think my Python installation there's a bug in my Python installation? Yeah, can anybody tell me what is happening here? So I'm not getting this repeated values. I'm getting 1.0. Okay, so I don't know, maybe you thought that I scolded you in the morning and now you are not active. See, it's not scolding, it's just that I'm just trying to tell you that you should put in more efforts. I mean, see, finally, my goal as a teacher, somebody told me that I have to motivate students, which I'm really bad at, but I'm trying. So it's just a way to motivate you that you should do better. I'm not scolding you. I'm actually, I mean, I'm fine. I mean, I'm happy that the average is good and people have done well. So don't take it to your heart. I mean, if you have lost marks also, it's okay. You can always make it up. I mean, I should not be saying this because you are, I mean, I'm not the right person because you already know, like you have been writing so many exams. So, yeah, so don't let this midsem affect your enthusiasm of the course. Okay, does everybody understand what is happening here? Do you see that there is an issue with this piece of code? Can you answer in the code? Can you tell me, did you understand why we are expecting 0.6 and whatever, and we are getting 0.1, which is an issue? No.
Sir, can we see initial outputs?
Yeah, good. Okay. I was hoping somebody will ask. Let's see what's the initial output rate. So you can see that it started with 0.1, whatever I expected. I got 0.2, whatever I expected. I got 0.4, whatever I expected. 0.8, whatever I expected. But instead of it showing me 0.6, it's showing me 0.6 with so many zeros and ones. So I'm not worried about it because it's just rubbish, right? So
Maybe it's storing in some way. Multiplying it by 2 is truncating it somewhere.
yeah, but why should it do? I'm just doing everything as floating point. So why should it put 1 here? I mean, where did this 1 come? And is it, I mean, am I okay with like forgetting? I mean, am I okay if I neglect this one? Yes, right? Because this has so many zeros that this doesn't have any
Effect on.
effect on it.
So, but why did it put that one there?
Yeah, I'm also asking the same thing. Why did it put 1 there? And it not.
Maybe
Mhm.
this is way easy to store inside than that.
So then we should not be using Python because Python is putting something which I'm not putting, asking it to put. So will you be happy with Python if I just, like, let's say I went to the first year undergraduate students and said, I wrote, this is the first program I wrote and showed this output. Do you think that they will ever learn Python in their life? They'll say, no, this is a double, this is a rubbish language. And today, I mean, let's say, let's take this example, right? So the error here is nothing. But if you see, as I go ahead, the error is accumulating. So what was 0.01 has accumulated to 0.02 and this has become 0.04. So the error is accumulating very fast in such a way that at some point the error becomes magnified and it just messes up with the entire computation. Are you able to see? See here. So I started with some just no error. I added some tiny, what do you say, issue into the output, but that has grown big and big and big, and it has actually,
It's growing exponentially, right? It's getting
Yeah.
multiplied by 2.
yeah. So this error is what is bothering me, right? So now if I look at here, should I be bothered about this error or not? The answer might be no, but this accumulates. And in most of the scientific codes, you are doing this. Like you are saying, okay, I am understand. So let's say you are building the rocket launcher and you are written this Python code. What you are trying to do is you are trying to see whether the system is stable or not, or unstable or not. And generally, when you reach one value, of course, this the others, the output is actually stable. But let's say, let's just to argue, we might conclude that since after some iterations of this analyzing the system, it reaches a steady state of being 1.0. So I will conclude that the system is stable. But when I actually launch it, maybe the system is not stable. And this came because of the error in, is it in Python? If it is in Python, then I should not be using it. But today, anybody you talk to, whether in scientific community, whether in machine learning, deep learning, they are using Python. Python itself has a package called SciPy, SciPy, which is for scientific computing. So people very, and if there's an error with such a small program, you can imagine the error in bigger programs. So the sensitivity of the system there's an issue with this. And
So can we resolve?
Yeah, can you tell me how can I resolve this? And you should not remove this, right? As DPC said, so let's to give you an example. Let's just do this exercise. Just take a sheet of paper. If you know the answer, please don't answer. Let everybody think about it. Just take a sheet of paper, right? Any thin sheet of paper, maybe this sheet of paper, just one thin sheet of paper, and you just fold it 100 times. Let's say I fold the sheet of paper 100 times. What do you think the thickness will be? Just don't answer. I mean, just think about it. You have taken a sheet of paper, you fold it 100 times.
Like folding means normal folding or?
Yeah, normal folding. You don't have to do any magic. Let's say I take this paper, I fold it, right? The thickness is this much. Right? And then
Like because every time we are doubling, so we won't be able to compress it.
Let's say I am a superhuman and I'm able to compress it.
Then it will become initial length into 2 power whatever number we are holding.
Yeah, I don't answer like others also think. Let's say I'm able to fold the paper 100 times. So generally when you ask people, they'll say that this thickness will be size of a bun, or maybe this much or this much, they'll say this. But if you think about it, the size will be in light years. I mean, not even in measurable distance. Right? It will be in light years. The reason is because even if you assume the initial thickness of the paper to be 0.1, every time you are multiplying by 2, so 0.1 into 2 and into 2 square, 2 power 4, and it will be 2 power 100. So 2 power 100 is a pretty huge number. Right? Our systems can't even store 2 power 100. So, I mean, what is tiny here can exponentially grow. So, if I have such a system, it's very difficult to guess what is the stability of the system. So, how can you fix this? Can you fix this?
So can you fix the number of, precision that you're going to use? Can you decide that and truncate everything beyond that to the right?
Okay, so what Debashi is saying is an excellent answer. So what she is saying is, I will put the precision to say maybe 2 digits. Yes, I can do it, but how do I do it? Or should I ask the programmer every time he is writing such simple piece of code? It's a very simple piece of code to ask the programmer to fix the precision.
Can we subtract the floating point 1?
Okay. Yeah, I think we can do this. But let's see. So it's an excellent find. So somebody is saying, can I do minus 1.0? Because now somebody who told the answer thinks that the Python is intelligent enough to figure out that it's a flight floating point and I should not be doing what mischief I am doing. Okay. It still does that mischief. Okay, so now hopefully I am convinced you that floating point is a big thing and you should be working on floating point. So this has given you motivation to do your lab, whatever the lab tomorrow you have. Yeah, try to find out what is happening, why is it happening, and design your own floating point standard. And when I mean floating point, it doesn't mean always decimal places, right? So let's say, so I hope you already know how to convert floating point number to binary number. Does everybody know how do I convert that? Not no in the sense, I mean, when I say no, it should be no actually. So how do I convert 0.125 into a binary number?
We multiply by 2 and...
Yeah, but why are you multiplying by 2? So what is the position this is representing?
2 power minus 1.
Yeah, 2 power minus 1. Yeah. So just think about it. The way to do this is multiply by 2, take the remainder and then concatenate the remainder, you will get the binary. Similarly, you can convert, let's say I have a binary, something like this, right? Then you can convert this to the decimal number by doing this into 2 power minus 1, 2 power minus 2, 2 power minus 3. So similarly, how you do 2 power 0. But if you think about it, in the computer, you cannot store point. I cannot store a decimal. Sorry, I cannot store this point, right? Because computer understands only ones and zeros. So will you store the character representation of the dot in the computer? So how is that Python storing whatever 0.5? Is it storing it as a string?
Maybe it is storing as 125 into 10 power minus 3.
Yeah, maybe it is storing it. Maybe it's storing at 125 into 10 power minus 3. And why not? Why can't it store it as 125 into 10 power minus 4? I mean, what is stopping me in doing this? So it's just a representation. I can come up with anything that I want. But how is it storing this 10 power minus 4 and into? Let's go by your answer only. So how is it storing this into and minus 3?
We'll implicitly think that it is into 10 power something. We'll store 125 and minus 3.
So let's say we'll talk about your 8-bit architecture. Maybe this will be the next question in your exam to design a floating point number for 8-bit architecture. Okay. So how do you represent this number? So if I have 125, everybody knows this. Everybody knows that I will represent this number in 8 bits. Maybe let's take 32 bits only. Everybody knows this. But now Vaibhav, right? So now Vaibhav has come up with an excellent solution because he thinks that he cannot store this point in the number. So he has multiplied it and come up with something crazy. He has said that 125 into 10 power minus 3, and he'll store -3 and 125. There are two numbers in a single 32 bit, or will you store it in two different 32 bits?
So you can decide the number of bits you want for the 125 part. And
Excellent.
the number of
So
bits.
somebody is saying, Devashi is saying that we will store this in some number of bits. So let's say how many bits will you use for this?
Maybe we can make half of it for this and half of it for that.
Okay, if somebody wants to be very generous, but you are forgetting one more thing that you have to represent. So I'm saying there are three things that you have to represent here, not just this
Also the
particular thing.
sign.
But you already know that -125 and 125, you are able to do it, right? So what is the sign that you are storing now?
The sign of the exponent.
Yes, the sign of the exponent. So now I have to store sign of the exponent. I have to store, what is this called? What is this called?
So one is characteristic, the other is mantis. I forgot which is it.
Okay, one is what?
Characteristic and mantissa.
Yeah, so I store M and C, right? So yeah, so I store this. So maybe now my number, somebody said, okay, 1 bit is for the, and I want to divide it this by half. But do I need to divide by this half? Let's say I am storing this 125 here and this 3 here. So do I move, if you are a designer, do you move this way or this way? Let's say, do you want to go in the red direction or the blue direction? Or do you want to keep it at half only, like this? Sorry. Do you want to divide it by half or do you want to divide it by, can I move it this way or that way?
Maybe we'll ask the user only how much precision they want and keep that.
Are you sure you want to ask the user? Sorry, do you want to change this with respect to the precision? Because, I mean, the computer has to change it, change the circuitry to do this, right? Let's say the user decides I want to have it here. Then this is read by what? He's read by this tiny guy who's looking here, right? And his brain is fixed. So it means that you want to have a circuitry which keeps changing accordingly. Which means that there's one more input, which means that there is a bottleneck. Because if I change the precision, I don't have to tell you. See, if I don't change the precision, I just have to give this number to this person. But if I change the precision dynamically, I have to give two inputs: one, the number, and the precision that you have chosen.
So also the user doesn't understand this properly. He might give like maybe only 2 bits for the 125 part. And
Okay,
say
let's assume that the user is
exponent
dumb.
part.
So now somebody is saying the user is dumb. Okay.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to represent only 2 significant digits, but to the power of -16 and to the power of +16, which is not very useful.
Okay. So any answer, like which one you want to go forward with?
Maybe we'll just fix it and say this is the precision that we can get. You can't ask anything more.
Okay, excellent. But I can do something better than this.
Sir, preferably move it to the right because the exponent part will be lesser, right, in magnitude usually.
Okay, so somebody is saying we'll move it this way. This is the answer. We'll move it this way. Okay. So think about this, right? So today there's all machine learning and all these things have come, and there's so much data. And we are discussing not just about one number or number value between 256 or 32 or whatever. We are discussing a number which is pretty huge. If I have to store a pretty huge number, do I store it here or do I store it here?
You store it on the right. Like the actual number, you store it on the, left. Sorry.
Left, okay. Let's say I have a number which says 1 trillion, whatever that 1 trillion is. So what Gitin is saying is we'll store the 1 trillion here. Since it doesn't, let's say I have a number 849. Then what Gitin is saying is we'll store 849 here and nothing here. Because
Then
it's
the
not-
number of digits we can store there, right? I mean, number of digits will be in the exponent, right?
number of digits.
Like
No, it's
the
into
number of
10
decimal
right?
points. Yeah. Sorry.
There's no decimal point, right? Because this
Oh,
is,
okay, okay.
number is 849. There's no decimal point. So what?
But
Gitin
we
is saying
usually
is,
deal with floating points separately, no?
yeah, let's say we not. Let's say this number is not floating point. Then am I doing it right in doing this? Yeah, I store 849 here and 0 there. It should work
Okay.
perfectly, right?
That is not perfect.
Why?
Because like we may be able to store more number, like bigger numbers, if we don't store, if we store in that 0 position also. Like we are wasting some bit slots, right?
Yeah, so we are wasting.
So we
some
may be
bits
able to
slots.
store larger numbers.
Okay. So what Gitin is saying is that you are dumb to store 0 here because these bits go waste. So can I come up
So
with
can you
something?
fill one side from the left, the other side from the right?
Okay, one side from the right, but now again there's a dynamic thing, right? So how does this figure
Yes.
out? Like how does the system figure out that where it stops?
Yes, sir. You can't do that.
Yeah, I can't do that. So any solution anybody wants to come up with? So this has nothing to do with the architecture now. It's fully mathematics, which you guys are already a genius in. So can you give me a
Sir,
mathematical
exponent
solution?
is in general negative only, right? I mean, why are we keeping?
Yeah, so okay, exponent is general negative, so which means that you should have asked me a different question before. You should have asked me why are you storing the sign of the exponent? Because it's always negative, which you didn't ask.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So which means that Devashi was wrong. You don't have to store this sign of the exponent. So can anybody give me a mathematical, like even if you're not interested in architecture, this is an interesting problem to solve, right?
So if you want to store really big numbers,
Mhm.
then don't you use a positive exponent to store them?
Okay, now somebody is saying if I want to store 1 trillion, I will not store 1 trillion. I will store 1 point, whatever the trillion number is, and then I will store the exponent value. Is that what you're saying? This I will consider it as an exponent.
No, yeah, if you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like say 10 to the power 20 zeros,
Mm-hmm.
how would you store that?
Yeah, how do I store that?
I mean, would you write 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 0, 0, 0, 0, 0?
Yeah, but that doesn't seem the right thing to do. Like what she's saying is, let's say I have 1, 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Now, if I have to store this in this 32-bit, you will say, no, I can't store this because maybe this is, but it doesn't store all the zeros, right? So what can I do here?
1.2 into 10 to the power whatever.
1.2 into 10 power what? Whatever,
The-
whatever. Right?
Yeah, so this
Again,
is
we
a
are getting
positive
floating point
exponent.
numbers. So again, we have to store that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
but
is a
so
positive
now
exponent,
whatever
right?
is what?
It's some
Number of
positive
digits.
number.
Where do I store it here? Here, right? I store it here.
Yeah.
And
So
here do I store, but how do I store 1.2? I can't store point here.
Yeah, so you do 12 into 10 to the power whatever.
Yeah, I can do 12 into, but yeah, I can do that. Okay.
So this is a
so-
positive exponent, right? So
So then I need again a sign. So it means that somebody who said we don't need a sign, we'll need a sign.
I don't know now if you need a sign or not.
Yeah, now we don't know whether we need a sign or not. So what should we do now? We still say, okay, forget all this, we'll not even handle floating point numbers. So today, if you see any high performance computing, any supercomputer that you talk about, they don't measure it in terms of gigahertz. Nobody will say, I have 4 cores, 8 cores with 1 gigahertz in the advertisement they share. They'll say, what is the floating point operations per second? It's called flops. Today's exascale machine, the US government has a project called exascale computing, where their goal was to build an exascale computer, which means that they wanted to have 1 exaflop. They should be able to do 1 exaflop operations or floating point operations per second. That was their target. Japan has already built a machine which does 1 exaflop. India has machines in petaflops. So everything that is measured is in flops. We are interested in what is the floating point operations per second a machine can perform. If it performs more floating point operations, we say that it is far superior than any other machine. So floating points are important. The design decisions that you take here are also important. They are actually very interesting if you think about it. How we came across this. So there is a consortium called IEEE, which is a consortium of electrical engineers. Of course, it also includes computer science. Computer science is a very recent branch. So they have their own standards, but Google today is defining its own standard. Called, I mean, you can just Google it. You can Google for Google standard. So Google is pushing really hard for one of the standards because they have figured out that precision is not much of an issue when I'm dealing with machine learning applications. So yeah, I mean, all these design choices are really important according to me. So in the next lab, just don't Google it and just answer it. Think about how will you solve it and what it means to solve it and how will I implement instructions for it. Right? Now, you know that the point cannot be handled, like the point value cannot be stored in a computer. So you are storing the entire floating point number in a 8-digit number, 8-digit or 32-bit value. Now, where do I store the exponent? Where do I store the mantissa? Where do I store the sign for the mantissa? And should I worry about the sign for the number itself? Now, that will be one more question that you will have to answer. Now you will come up with your own standard and implement the standard and execute the instructions accordingly. And this entire exercise is challenging, even though you don't know anything about hardware, even though we assume that you don't know anything about the hardware, this is still challenging accordingly. Okay. So are there any questions or any thoughts on this? How can I do this or what can I do about it? So one thing that you have to keep in mind is floating point number doesn't mean that you have storing only the point numbers that you see, something like this, right? It's not about always real numbers. You're not saying, I want to store 1.2, 0.5, 5, and whatever, 8.3. No. Floating points are also used to store huge number. Any number that you are storing is actually can be converted to a floating point number. It's just that you multiply what we did here, right? So I was not able to store this thing. Right? I was not able to store this thing. So I did convert this number to this way. So I had say 120000. I was not able to store this in my architecture. So I said it is 1.2 into 10 power, whatever. So not 1.2, maybe, of course it's 1.2, but for, let's say for now you are saying it's 12 into 10 power 5. But when I am doing this, I am losing something. What am I losing when I'm converting this number to this? What am I losing when I do this?
Accuracy. If it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 instead.
Yeah, if let's say it was something like this, then also I would store it as 12 into 10 power 5. If it was 2, then also I would, so irrespective of what the number is, I'm storing it as 12 into 10 power 5. So, which means that my application should be okay if the difference between this 12 million and the other 1.2 million and this 1.2 million. So maybe, do you think the Python is doing something like this? Maybe it's trying to store this and it's forgetting that there is something. Maybe. Okay, so we will stop the class today. I have to actually run. But if there are any questions, I can stay back for 5 more minutes. But think about these floating point numbers. It's an interesting topic. Of course, we will be discussing in detail more as we go ahead in the course. We'll at least spend like 2-3 classes just discussing about floating point numbers. This is just to give you an introduction. I don't want to teach everything and then ask you to implement the floating point number. Then you'll just do what people have done from ages. I want you to think about it and come up on your own. So then you will understand the challenges and interesting things in that.